Hello and welcome into the Ultimate Florida Sports Show. I am Evan Closky with my co-pilot, as always, on this ride, my good friend Chris Porter. How you doing, Chris?
What's up, Evan? How you doing, my friend? Over the next 30 minutes, we're talking NFL, college football, and the MLB playoff push. Teal 28, Black 25. Let's get the Jags camp, shall we? The Miller Electric Center. Yes, sir. Second week of Jaguars training camp, and this man, Robert Hainsey, is one of the guys Liam Cohen is leaning on to be a leader along that offensive line. Hainsey, without question, is very familiar with Cohen's offense. How so? He was in the system last year down in Tampa. Folks, it's no secret. In the NFL or any level of football, you've got to win the line of scrimmage. The Big Cats' new regime added depth and competition along that O-line this offseason, and Hainsey is one of the best offseason pickups, especially for an O-line that's learning a new system that was banged up and inconsistent in 2024.
It has been huge to have somebody that obviously, has been in the system, but also has had to make the adjustments that can occur within the system, right? We have a specific play call versus a specific front. Well, maybe, obviously the other four guys have not seen that within this play or that concept. So he has had that experience, been able to make adjustments on the fly and ultimately communicate what we're trying to get done. So that's been a blessing.
This week, when asked how long it takes for an offensive line to build chemistry, Hainsey said it's different for every group. He thinks every day they make steps forward, but they have not played a game together yet, and that's huge. So they're like all of us, taking it one day at a time, one play at a time, just learning what each other likes and how they operate together. This approach would allow them to play seamlessly, he says, as five guys looking through one set of eyes.
Yeah, Chris, let's talk about the Jags rushing game. And by the way, I want to say with Robert Hainsey, he helped revitalize what was going on here in Tampa Bay. So he helped turn that from the worst rushing attack to one of the best. Now, what's going on over there with the running back situation for the Jags?
We need that same thing to happen here in the 904. If the offensive line can indeed make major strides, it will open things up for folks like third-year running back Tank Bigsby, who is coming off a sophomore season in which he rushed for 766 yards and scored 7 touchdowns. Look, the Jaguars need the running game to take some of the pressure off of quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Right now in camp, they've got 2 experienced backs. Tank Bigsby is one, Travis Etienne is the other. Then they drafted Bashaw Tootin, who, if he can hold on to the ball, will be fantastic, and LaQuint Allen Jr. Last season, the Jaguars' run game was ranked 25th in the NFL. We know in order for you to be good, that offensive line has to play well. What have you seen from them?
They're doing their job. They're getting great push up front. When the cut's available, we make them, and when they're not, we got to make them. We got to make it down and make them right too. So it's not all on them. It's about how we press it. It's about how we set the line up and put them in a better position so they can be great. So I know a lot of people put a lot of things on the line, but a lot of times the back's not pressing it, and we make their blocks look harder. So we got to do our job too.
It'll be interesting to see who ends up being the Jaguars' #1 running back. But, Evan, when I think about the fact that Cohen likes physicality, like that power running, in my humble opinion, I think Tank Bigsby will end up being the #1 guy.
Look, that's important advice as well for anybody playing fantasy football out there. Keep it with Chris, because Liam Cohen in that rushing attack, you're going to want a little piece of that pie. As for the Buccaneers, I would love to make it through one show, Chris, without talking about a serious injury with this team. Coaches and players were really excited about rookie David Walker helping Tampa Bay's pass rush, I know. But that will not happen as he tore his ACL and is out for the season. Todd Bowles said this will unfortunately be a redshirt season for him, and I'm going to keep it a $145. We had no idea what David Walker was going to provide this team entering the upcoming season. Last year, the Bucs burned higher draft capital on a guy like Chris Braswell, and we still have questions about that guy and what's going on with him. So Todd Bowles spoke about the depth at that position, and he believes they'll be just fine.
I thought we had a lot of depth with Walker, and there's still some spots to be had. I think we still have a lot of depth. I mean, obviously, you got Yaya, you got Nelson, you got Braswell, and you got Hassan, and you still got Watts, and you got Jose, and you got a bunch of guys still fighting for that spot. So we still feel like we have some depth there.
The biggest change for the Buccaneers entering the upcoming season is generating pressure with only 4 guys. That was the formula for the Eagles this past season, winning the Super Bowl. That was the formula for the 2020 Buccaneers Super Bowl winning team as well. So hopefully Jose Ramirez or Marquise Watts can prove they can be that 5th linebacker. But, Chris, it is tough to keep having these conversations before August.
Yes, it is. And you know what? You should always have 2 streams of revenue. Why don't you work for the NFL office and just be over the injury report every week? I mean, you're doing a fantastic job week after week. Let's talk about what's behind
I'll take whatever I can get.
Yes. Let's talk about what's behind those linebackers. How does the Bucs secondary look, my friend?
Yeah, dare I say the Bucs secondary looks great. This was a group that got tiki-torched all season long. Yes, they had a ton of injuries, but Bowles was playing a ton of soft zone, too. The team only had 7 interceptions. They had their least amount of turnovers in the Todd Bowles era. So it comes down to rookies Benjamin Morrison and Jacob Parrish both improving. They've been making splash plays. Antoine Winfield Jr. is healthy. He's had a bunch of picks. Bryce Hall, Tyke Smith. I mean, it has been crazy how many interceptions this defense has had in training camp thus far. And the 2 rookies on this team have really filled out the room nicely.
Throw a bunch of people in with the ones just to see what they're doing. So Morrison's learned enough where he can go in with the ones and not flinch. We want to see when we throw guys in there how they respond. Some guys go in the tank and some guys respond. He responded.
So just leaning on my vets, Zion, Dean, and Winfield, just learning what they do and just trying to follow their footsteps.
I'm telling you, Chris, this is a defense that is getting slept on a little bit. And look, I was skeptical entering the season. I don't know if they're a top 10 unit, but they're going to be significantly better, if healthy, than what they were last year.
And we know Todd Bowles, the head coach. He's always specialized in defense, so I would not be surprised at all if this defense is, as you've been saying for weeks now, going to be spectacular. All right, college football, still in the NFL. The news just has gone from bad to worse for the Miami Dolphins. The Fins will have to replace their entire starting secondary from last year after quarterback Kader Kahu went down. He suffered a partially torn ACL that will keep him sidelined for the entire 2025 season. Terrible news for a team that released starting cornerback Kendall Fuller in February and traded their other starting outside corner Jalen Ramsey to the Pittsburgh Steelers in June. Starting safeties Javon Holland and Jordan Poyer both left the team in free agency. They've got mad issues, to say the least, Evan, down in South FLA.
I hope the Dolphins offense is ready to put up 30 points per game, because this might be the worst secondary in the league. Minkah Fitzpatrick might need to be Ronnie Lott to keep this band together. And, Chris, what happens if your best players on the defensive line get hurt? How are you generating pressure on the quarterback? I am very, very concerned about this Fins defense.
Me too. Take it, my friend. Pardon me.
Yeah. Let's have you regroup. I am concerned about Chris and also the Tampa Bay Rays.
Take it full, please.
After the worst month of baseball in the Kevin Cash era, the Tampa Bay Rays went from buyers to sellers in 30 days and are now a long shot to make it to the postseason. I don't know what's a longer shot, for the Rays to make it to the postseason or Chris to make it to the end of the show. They didn't do anything too crazy at the deadline that would affect them next year dramatically. Having said that, I have serious questions about this ball club entering 2026. They can't hit lefties. The bullpen needs to be completely reworked. It's doubtful they'll have the same sort of injury luck with the starters as they did this year. A clump of their prospects, generally speaking, didn't have a great season. I mean, it's just a shame it had to go down this way, because they are a better squad than their record. The run differential says so. But when you play tight games and you have zero trust in your bullpen, you ain't going anywhere. Look at what the Mets just did. The Padres. This organization rarely spends big money on relievers, which I understand, but I would expect more changes to come in the offseason on top of an ownership change, which would hopefully net them a larger payroll, but that remains to be seen, Chris.
Yeah, the Rays have the opposite vibes of the Miami Marlins, who look like a fun team as of right now. And thank you, teammate, for having me back there when nature took course. You know what I'm saying? Now to college football. Gator Nation be worried about quarterback DJ Lagway? This week we learned Lagway was dealing with a calf strain that had him in a walking boot. Billy Napier confirmed that the second-year signal caller is like all of us, day to day, to start fall camp. Good news is Napier said that the injury happened about a week ago and Lagway has already made progress. There's hope that he can do more once fall camp ramps up. But here's what's more concerning. The former 5-star quarterback missed spring with a shoulder injury that prevented him from throwing and had sports hernia surgery. It's not time for a full-blown panic, Gator Nation, for Lagway, but is it officially time to be worried? The verdict is still out, but it's beginning to feel like the super sophomore is going to be injury-prone, Devin.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chris. Something doesn't smell right here entering the season, and I'm definitely worried about his health throughout the year. Meanwhile, in Tampa, USF is a sneaky pick to compete for an American title. Alex Golish has been the model of consistency for the Bulls. Back-to-back seasons going 7-6, 4-4 in conference, winning the bowl game at the end of each season. He has successfully turned around a program from what it was a couple of years ago, which was terrible. But now it is time to see this group take the next step. In year 3, we want to see if the Bulls can make some progress, especially with quarterback Byron Brown back under center and healthy. They'll have quite the schedule to begin the year, hosting Boise State and then heading on the road to take on Florida and Miami. There is no easing into the schedule for these boys.
Not at all. When you say, Florida and Miami was on that schedule you said there?
Yeah, it's a toughie.
Bulls better be ready to buck. Up next in the Ultimate Rush, while Major League Baseball has a big problem on their hands. Plus, we show you another example as to why coaches should not complain about the transfer portal. It's one of my favorite parts of the show. It's time for the Ultimate Rush. This is where we'll break down a sports story that's having an impact on the wide world of sports here in FLA and beyond.
Yeah, there's only one catch. We have 1 minute to make our point, and I'm going to get us started talking some baseball and betting. I'm going to start with the issues in Cleveland. Emmanuel Clase was placed on paid leave as Major League Baseball investigates his potential involvement in sports gambling while on the mound. This comes after about a month after Luis Ortiz was put on paid leave for the same exact thing. Gambling is now embedded into the sports culture. We have a segment called Ultimate Stakes coming up after this. We can't ignore it. Leagues are all making money off of it with sponsorships. However, that does not mean we shouldn't fix some things about it. I'm sorry, but we do not need to be betting on pitches, all right? We don't need to be excessive with it. In basketball, I don't even think you should be able to bet on the under for players and props. Gambling issues in sports aren't new. For decades now, we've seen athletes, even officials, entangled in these affairs. But with technology growing around these apps, there has to be better management of it all. There are certain bets that are much more easily manipulated than others, and we have to recognize that. So while we embrace the world that used to be taboo, we need to also reel it in a bit. And this is a bad look for Major League Baseball.
I just don't understand why these pro athletes keep getting caught up in this gambling stuff. I mean, we just see it time and time again. It's wild, my friend.
Yeah, it stinks.
Now to one of those sports stories sure to have you asking seriously as the college football season approaches here in the 904. Edward Waters Tigers fans are still scratching their heads after Toriano Morgan resigned July 16th. I know you're saying, what's the big deal? Coaches resign all the time. Well, when Coach Morgan decided to step down, it was the day after he represented the Tigers at the SIAC's Media Day. And we know how all these coaches do at Media Day. What do? They tell you how much they love their players and they love their program. So following the news, EWU named offensive coordinator Brian Jenkins their interim head coach. Some drama. Jenkins and Morgan are great friends. Coach Jenkins told me he had no idea that this was going to happen, and he learned it when we did. Coach Jenkins also told me when Morgan told him he did not take it well, and they went back and forth. Coach Jenkins says selfishly he wanted Coach Morgan to stay and see things through at EWU. But after their conversation, he understands why Morgan bolted to Nashville to coach his alma mater, the Tennessee State Tigers.
Yeah, and once again, a reminder that I'm saying, once again, with the transfer portal stuff, coaches, man, they can't complain. They move whenever they want to. Players get to do the same thing. It's just ridiculous.
And listen,
now,
dog, if you're
to the heart
leave,
of the
you gotta
game.
let me know. Don't leave me hanging, Evan. Don't do like Jenkins was done by Morgan.
That too. No, hey, we keep an open line of conversation here, especially when you sneeze, I got your back. If I sneeze, you got mine. Now to the heart of the game. For the stories that go beyond the X's and O's and remind us why we love sports.
Yeah, for the first time since Jaguars edge rusher Josh Hines Allen made his son's cancer diagnosis public, we got a chance to talk with him about it. Hines Allen saying they wanted to make sure their son Wesley, who doctors diagnosed with leukemia, was healthy first before they went public because they knew once the word got out that he's in remission, it would be more uplifting and more positive. Hines Allen also wanted to be out front so that he could raise more awareness.
You know, a lot of people go through it. A lot of people that you may not know in your daily life has had some type of cancer at a young age or probably getting it now. That you can always be there to support them, care for them, give them love, because I think that's really the main focus on people that's going through that. They have people that can help support them and give them love.
There are 4 cancer-focused nonprofits Josh Hines Allen's foundation will donate to each month during the regular season. Memorial Children's Health, American Cancer Society, Ronald McDonald House, and the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation. Hines Allen says his teammates, coaches, even his former coaches checked on his son almost every day after he was diagnosed with leukemia. And I'll just say this, as a parent, I know this is a parent's greatest fear, to hear the word cancer associated with their kid. And big ups to the Hines Allen family for, you know, their strength, and to his teammates and coaches who were there for him during this tough process.
Certainly, and being vulnerable enough to talk about the story as well, that's certainly important, because there are a lot of parents, a lot of kids who go through something like this, and to hear about that, it only spreads, you know, community in a sense of saying we're not alone. So, you know, that's just really upbringing as well. Final push for playoffs in baseball. Our picks for a World Series run are up next in the Ultimate Stakes.
Part of the Game is sponsored by Father First.
Hey, Dad. I don't need you to be perfect. I don't need you to be a superhero. I know you don't have it all figured out. Y eso está bien, porque eres mi papá. And that's enough. And scientific study shows when my dad is involved, great things happen. When test scores go up, I'm less anxious. I just become the best version of me.
Time now for the Ultimate Stakes. This is where we play odds makers and tell you where we would put our money if we were the betting types.
Just remember, we are not experts, and this is all for entertainment purposes only. Chris, final stretch for the baseball season. Who do you like in the playoffs, potentially making a World Series run?
I like the National League East leading New York Mets. As of this show, they were. They made some significant moves at the trade deadline, including acquiring relief pitchers Tyler Rogers and Ryan Helsley. These acquisitions bolster their bullpen, which had been struggling recently. Helsley is a 2-time All-Star closer. He has a strong fastball and a history of success, including being the NL Reliever of the Year in 2024. Tyler Rogers is a unique submarine-style pitcher with a low-velocity sinker. He's known for generating soft contact and has a strong track record of appearances.
Look, I grew up a Mets fan. I always expect the worst with this franchise, but coming off what they did last year, love what they did with their bullpen. Same goes for the Padres, who are all in, but my pick is going to be the Seattle Mariners, who are plus 600 to win the American League. Those are the 5th best odds to win the pennant, and I'm a bit confused by that. They got Suarez, they got Naylor, Arozarena, Cal Raleigh, and Julio Rodriguez are all there. That's a stacked lineup. They got a stacked pitching group. I feel like people are sleepless on Seattle, and I'm all over them. As for an NFL prop to bet, I want to take a look at this. We talked about the Dolphins earlier in the show. Tua Tagovailoa's line for passing touchdowns at 23.5. Considering how bad we all think this secondary is going to be, I think Tua blows by that number because he's going to have to. And if he stays healthy, which is a big if, but if he stays healthy, I'll take that. I think 23.5 is a layup considering he had 19 in 11 games last year, Chris.
I second what you're saying, my guy. I agree with you 1,000%. A health scare could really knock you for a loop, but it's all about how you respond. I'll explain why Coach Deion Sanders' strength and resilience is prime time in the last word.
Time now for the last word. This is where we'll give you our unfiltered opinion on a story that got our attention in the past week.
Yeah, Evan, this week NFL Hall of Famer and Coach Deion Primetime Sanders went public about his bladder cancer diagnosis and having to have his bladder removed. Coach Prime revealing he's cancer-free after undergoing surgery. As only Coach Prime could, he shared the ups and downs associated with bladder cancer. As a kid growing up in Warner Robins, Georgia, Deion Primetime Sanders has always been one of my favorite NFL players. I watched him shut down the NFL's top receivers week after week. And as an adult, I love how he loves his children and motivates his players. But what impresses me most is his unwavering faith. Even after 14 surgeries since 2021 for blood clots in his leg, amputation of 2 toes, and more recently, the removal of a cancerous tumor in his bladder, he still found a way to smile and empower people. Deion, your strength, your resilience, and your selflessness is truly prime time.
And I want to say this. Always remember where you get your information from, because there are a lot of rumors that Deion was going to hang it up, not coach for the upcoming season.
Yep.
Oh, on the contrary, he's ready to roll there in Boulder with the Buffaloes. So, tip of the cap to him, somebody that we just saw here in Tampa watching his son Shiloh go to work trying to make the Buccaneers squad.
And that lifted his players, you know what I'm saying, to see their coach back. Evan, so good to see you this week. We'll see you back here same time, same channel. Bye.